slow down before you submit that paper, before you send that email, think twice. And I have regretted sending emails or submitting work when I deep down knew that it wasn't right. And so if I would have just slowed down and reread it and thought, how is that other person going to receive this? Then maybe things would have turned out differently.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Sneha at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 200,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. With 20 years of experience in building and scaling teams focused on customer success, service, training, advocacy, and operations, Emilia has been named the 2020 Top Global CX Thought Leader by SurveySense, 2018, 2017, and 2016 CS Influencer and Strategist by MindTouch, and she has received a 2016 Stevie's Award for Customer Service. Emilia is passionate about helping companies grow, and she focuses on developing people, building processes, and scaling systems. Her work also involves partnering with companies to create growth and metrics-driven customer journeys. Aside from that, she also works with individuals who are seeking to take the next step in their career. Very recently, she was felicitated among the top 25 customer success influencers by Success Hacker. So Emilia, once again, let me welcome you. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Sneha.
So let's just jump right into it. Let me ask you the first question. So you have addressed yourself as a people person. And while that's an excellent skill to imbibe, especially when it comes to working within a people-oriented structure, how do you think it has helped you in terms of personally meeting the goals that you had set for yourself as a consultant?
I think it's really important to put yourself as a people or human first when you're thinking about growing your business, because if you think and you put yourself first when answering questions for potential clients, for example, they can tell right away that you're just trying to sell them something. I think about when people connect with me on LinkedIn and want to sell me something right away during the introduction or immediately afterwards. I know right away that they're not interested in getting to know me or my business. They just want me to buy something, and it's an immediate turnoff. So just like you don't like that type of sales aspect, I believe that as a consultant or leader of any company, you have to think about two things. One, your customer, and two, the people supporting the customer. So if you can think about those two things and how they're equally important, I think it will help you as a business and as an individual. I last week talked to Nick Mehta of Gainsight about a few things. He called me and I asked him, I said, Nick, what kind of company do you want to be remembered for? And he didn't even have to pause. He said, I want my company to be remembered for being human first. And I thought that was really powerful.
That is so inspiring. And I feel like what makes the difference between, people who are successful and people who are not as successful as they would want to be is, somehow starting off with that zeal, but, halfway through forgetting why they're doing what they're doing. And, when you were speaking, I just felt like, if this is something that anybody keeps in front of them while they decide to climb the ladder per se, there's no way that they can ever go wrong. Because at the end of the day, when you get that kind of satisfaction from the work that you're doing, it just pushes you to do better every single day. And then you don't have to worry about something in specific and just make it like an ongoing process.
That's right.
Really wonderful. The second question that I want to ask you is that in your experience, what are the challenges that go into focusing and developing people, building processes and scaling systems?
There are a few elements I think about, and one is getting to know that person first and understanding what excites them, what are they really good at, where do they need help, and starting on that basis. If you're going to try to get someone to do something they're really not passionate about, the chances of them being really good at it are very low. So really getting to understand what are these people good at and making sure you have the right talent for that role. I think about business analysis or science behind data. Unless you're a data-driven person or really understand how to crunch those numbers, how to analyze them, it's very difficult to make those numbers useful for you in your decision making. So if that isn't your forte, get someone on your team, hire someone on your team who's really good at that. And that really starts with understanding what are you really good at first, and then making sure that your team covers the things that you're not as passionate about or that you're not as good at doing, so that your team is really strong as one.
Right, right. And I feel like the underlying quality here at the end of the day is, you know, teamwork. So I
Yes.
feel like being a leader and also wanting to participate in teamwork goes hand in hand. And somebody that can balance both of the things has practically won it all. So yeah, that really does put things into perspective. Moving on to the next question. So, this is something that I came across your profile and that struck me a lot. So, you've mentioned, and I quote, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. So, what does this exactly mean for Amelia?
It started a long time ago. Now it's been 6 or 7 years ago. I worked for a company called Bright Edge SEO in San Mateo, California. And the leader at the time of Vice of Customer Success and Strategy, his name is Joshua Crossman, had a consultant, a couple consultants come in and work with us. And the whole premise of those 3 days together was getting uncomfortable. And I just started my job. I was actually quite miserable. I thought, oh no, I don't even know these people. And I have to become so vulnerable. They're going to see all the things that I'm not good at very quickly. Those 3 days where we were all role playing, practicing, talking to customers, but actually our colleagues, did so many wonderful things for me. One, I quickly got to know my teammates and we laughed together at our mistakes, but we also grew together and we practiced what we weren't good at so that when it was time to be in front of our customers, we were really confident doing things we had never done before. The second thing is, because it's always stuck with me and I saw how much I grew in those 3 days, I just became naturally a more confident person throughout the rest of my career. And I am constantly challenging myself to do things I've never done before and say, it's all right if I fail because I can try again. And that's why I really thrive on getting my clients to get uncomfortable, to try things they've never tried before, and to look at things differently, because only when we get out of our comfort zone do we really grow. So hopefully that gives you an idea of why I think that statement has been so profound for me in my career.
And it's not unless you actually get out of your comfort zone that you build another comfort zone. That's how I like to think about it. And unless you
Love it.
thank you, and unless you do that, it's just the line between what's uncomfortable and comfortable. You just moving ahead and deciding to just trust yourself makes all of the difference. And once you get into that habit, there's no going back. So again, thank you. That was a very brilliant answer. What are some of the high points of your journey that made you stop and, again, adding on to the previous question, that just made you stop and think to yourself that, this is why I do what I do, something to just sort of reassure.
Yeah. I think it's predominantly impacted by women who I didn't realize I was helping and who have gone on to do great things with their own careers. And one of the examples I'll give is when I left WalkMe, one of the women on another team sent me a beautiful email letting me know how I had quietly influenced and inspired so many people at the organization. And I never knew that. And it was such a humbling letter to receive. And I thought, wow, I really want to keep doing this. And that's one of the reasons I went into consulting. The other is other women that I have had the opportunity to coach and mentor that were under my leadership at different organizations. years later have come back to me and said, Emilia, because you went and got your MBA when you were in your late 30s, we're now going to get our master's degrees. And we'd love and be honored if you would write our recommendation letter. And for me to see these young women who were on my team when maybe they were on their first or second jobs to now go on and to get another degree so they too can have an impact on the world, to me is super inspiring. And it's those women that really remind me to keep doing what I love doing so much, and that's working with people and helping them achieve their goals.
That is so inspiring. I mean, even personally, I feel like this anecdote is something that I'll never forget. And I know that, it's easy to say that we're actually creating the difference. But at the same time, when somebody actually comes and acknowledges the difference, especially when it's unexpected, that's when it,
Right.
so that's really inspiring. And with a very heavy heart, I'm moving on to the last question that we have. On a closing note, what are some pointers that you would like to give to our audience that stand as your tried and tested steps to success?
All right. I would say start with a really hard question of asking whoever you report to or people that you trust, what should I be doing better? There's nothing more humbling than someone looking at you in the eyes and telling you what you're not doing well. And I know it can be very difficult to stomach and hear, and you might feel sick about it for days, but it actually makes you a stronger person. Some of the advice that I've received from former people that I've reported to have been really influential in my career, and one of them is slow down. I know you're at a fast moving, growing company, but slow down before you submit that paper, before you send that email, think twice. And I have regretted sending emails or submitting work when I deep down knew that it wasn't right. And so if I would have just slowed down and reread it and thought, how is that other person going to receive this? Then maybe things would have turned out differently. And sometimes you just have to go through the experience and fail miserably to really learn. But the true learning happens when you recognize you made a mistake and you don't do it again. If you keep making the mistake, then what have you learned? You're not going to excel in your career. So I would say start with that. Find people you trust and get candid, honest feedback. It's only by hearing how others perceive you and where you can improve that you'll really reach your next level.
Right. I fully agree with that. And Amelia, it's been very nice talking to you. And I really want to thank you not just for your insight, but also for taking the time to talk to us about it. And I personally view this conversation as a learning experience. And I'm sure that it's safe to say that so does everybody else. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
It was our pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.